Tauros, the wild bull Pokemon, versus Miltank, the milk cow Pokemon. Welcome everyone, I'm Exceptional, and I hope you are too. Today we will be seeing which of these two can defeat Pokemon FireRed, including the Round 2 Elite Four, the fastest. Challenge rules are in the description. We have a lot to cover, so let's jump right into things. In keeping with my typical versus format, I will be doing 2 playthroughs with each Pokemon. The initial runs I actually did live on stream. As such, I won't be covering the first playthroughs in extensive detail. If you're more interested in my thought process throughout the first runs, go check out the VOD. I'll leave a link in the description. For the first runs, I will also be keeping the footage in parallel so you can see where the Pokemon are relative to each other. In the second playthroughs, I will bring up the more detailed overlay and focus on each Pokemon individually. Our 2 competitors are fairly evenly matched, both with slow growth rates and a base stat total of 490. Tauros is definitely more offensively inclined with higher attack and speed, whereas Miltank is more defensive. Our special attack and special defenses, though, are dead even. As slow growth rate normal type Pokemon, you'd think that we wouldn't have a great time with Brock, but I've got something up my sleeve with both of them. I absolutely love including an egg move in my challenge runs because I feel it really levels out the playing field. Tauros unfortunately does not get any egg moves, so instead I decided to teach it a tutor move. I went with Icy Wind, which is available in Emerald specifically to make Brock easier, but I'm going to be talking more in playthrough 2 about why I won't be doing that again. Despite our terrible special attack, I'm definitely heading straight to Brock with this super effective move. Tauros made it there first, so we'll focus first on Baloney's fight. Super effective Icy Wind is able to take out Geodude with no issue at all. But then against Onix, I was a little bit surprised. I forgot about the speed control of Icy Wind, and so Onix is going to continue throwing stab rock tombs at us. Whoops, that's going to be reset number 1. I tried again and get so close, bringing Onix down to just a sliver, but it's still no dice. So while Tauros goes and trains, Miltank is approaching Brock. Miltank definitely had better egg choices because Miltank had egg moves. After reviewing them for a couple of minutes, I decided to go with Curse because you all know how much I love my setup moves. Geodude is actually being incredibly cooperative, not going for many tackles, as Pure Evil, shoutouts to my stream chat, sets up +6 with Curse. Well, that's +6 attack and defense, -6 speed. My thinking was that this setup would allow our only damaging move, Tackle, to be able to get us past the rock-hard trainer. Miltank ends up getting a first try victory against Brock, which after testing this, I gotta say, is very lucky. Oh, those resets that you see on Miltank? Go check out the VOD to see what happened in Viridian Forest. As Miltank is finishing the battle, Tauros is actually back doing another attempt. I didn't want to spend forever grinding, only giving myself enough experience so that the Geodude would level us up to 10 over the next damage rounding threshold for the Onix. This makes Onix a 3-shot, and both competitors are moving forward with their first badge in hand. On the way through Mount Moon, Pure Evil is going to be grabbing the Dome Fossil. And wait for it, Baloney will be grabbing the Dome Fossil. All hail Dark Lord Dome. And just outside of Mount Moon, I'm going to be teaching Miltank Mega Kick. I figured the high damage option would be much better for us than Tackle. Baloney, however, can't kick, so he just skips on by. With both competitors, I decided to face Rival 2 before going after Misty. I just gotta say that I love, despite the odd back and forth, how close these two are. I chose the Bulbasaur team to go up against because later in the run we'll be facing 2 Intimidates. This fight is a total blowout though, with both of our competitors critting the Bulbasaur and finishing the battle at the same time. Now that's some pure evil baloney right there, from the rival standpoint. I complete the next route targeting Misty next. Pure Evil makes it there first, but barely. This fight is actually incredibly easy for both of our competitors. A single stab or same type attack bonus move defeats Staryu on both sides, then dishing out much heavier damage than Starmie is able to dish back. Both competitors blast through the second gym leader with no problem. Then, in an effort to keep my brain a little less scrambled, I am going to be allowing myself to use Hidden Power on the first run. In fact, I did not impose any of my regular move restrictions on myself in these runs. This is all about gathering information for those second optimized playthroughs after all. Why would I not cover all bases in the first run? Baloney had a much easier time catching than Pure Evil did, so he's ready to face Rival 3, while Pure Evil is down picking up the TM31 Brick Break. Miltank's moveset, I would say, is much better suited for this style of play, with, coverage that doesn't rely on our base 40 special attack. Once again, neither competitor has any problems with Rival 3, including another critical hit against Ivysaur from Pure Evil. We're really living up to the name this run. Let's check out the next gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. I feel that this is a great opportunity to really highlight the difference between these two runners. One thing that's really setting Baloney apart in the early game right now is his ability to one-shot pretty much everything. Taking one turn instead of two actually does reduce a lot of time in a run. Tauros goes smashy smash, almost one-shotting Raichu as well. This was an easy one for Baloney. Pure Evil, though, cannot one-shot Voltorb. From a getting through the game perspective, neither Pokemon has any problem in this fight, but from a speed perspective, Tauros definitely had the advantage. You gotta go fast in these runs right, but that defensive bulk is very useful, particularly later in the game. Jumping ahead to the other side of Rock Tunnel in the Rocket Warehouse, we see a big mistake with Tauros. I definitely have to take a second to reinforce that these runs were done live. My focus was not entirely on the gameplay, so things got a little messy here and there. Like when I didn't pick up the Sylph Scope at all with Tauros. Okay, come back for that when the chat tells me to. We'll get it eventually. Instead, let's talk about our fourth gym leader, Erica. Baloney is still leading the charge, dealing over half to Victory Bell while she misses a Stun Spore. I have a Cherry Berry equipped, but hey, I'm pretty sure that guaranteed our fight. So, of course Tangela poisons us, but that's just my love of poison. Neither Tangela nor Vileplume stand a chance against our Raging Bull. Pure Evil is then ready to take on Erica, while Baloney goes and grabs that scope. This battle almost counters my point at Lieutenant Surge, where doing more damage isn't necessarily helping Tauros anymore. After all, a two-shot is a two-shot is a two-shot. No problems for Mommy Miltank here, so let's move on to Rival 4. Following Pure Evil, of course, because Baloney defeated him a few minutes ago on the first pass of Pokemon Tower without the Sylph Scope. It was a mess. At this point in the game, you can pretty much just assume that anything Miltank does, Tauros does better. Especially when Pure Evil gets burned by the Growlithe after taking 2 Intimidates. That's why I feel for physical attackers that Bulbasaur team is the most challenging one, because you do face 2 Intimidates, dropping your attack by 2 stages every battle. Losing another 50% of the burn is just icing on the cake. We still got through it, but not without a little bit of grimacing. Speaking of Sylph and Sylphy things, Sylph Co. is our next stop. Baloney still being ahead is the first one to face down Rival 5. This battle is pretty challenging, but hey, you never know. We're doing good damage with Return, and Pidgeot answers with Feather Dance, dropping our attack by 2 stages. Nope, not doing it. Without the attack drop, let's see how it goes. Ah, yes, the attack drop from Gyarados happens next. And then the drop from Growlithe. And despite the fact that we can take out the not threatening at all in this battle Alakazam, by the time Venusaur hits the field, we are dealing such little damage that we have no chance. I won't bother showing Pure Evil here because both Pokemon suffer a similar fate. I did roll a die on stream to see who would play first, and Tauros was the lucky winner. So of course, living up to the name once again, Pure Evil uses the Prescient Knowledge to sneak around Rival 5 attempts and go straight down to Fuchsia. Now in the lead, I'm gonna be teaching Substitute to Pure Evil. I will be doing this with both competitors because, like we all know, substrats, best strats. This time, our Pure Evil Miltank is gonna lead us into the next gym leader, Koga. While Baloney is disciplined in the ways of decoys, let's focus in on Pure Evil's fight. Substitute sacrifices a quarter of your max HP to put up a decoy that will absorb damage and, more importantly, status conditions on the field. While that decoy is active, it's going to make us immune to all of Koffing's poison and accuracy nonsense. It's like my very own na-na-na-na-na. Once I'm behind a decoy, I set up a single turn of curse, and it's time to start smashing. The decoy has hit points equivalent to what was sacrificed, and if those hit points are lost, the decoy falls. Additional damage does not spill back over to your Pokemon though. So as long as you've got a quarter health or more, you can just drop a new decoy down. Ugh, I love it. Koga falls with no issue at all. Baloney has a similarly easy time behind the decoy. As Baloney is finishing up his Koga battle though, we can instead focus in on Pure Evil's Rival 5 attempt. Well, attempts. There's definitely going to be a few here. This is going to be the case for both of them though. Baloney is not faring a whole heck of a lot better. Remember that setting up Curse drops your speed, and it's our speed that is exposing us to a bunch of additional hits on Pure Evil. Pure Evil is forced to go and train a little bit while Baloney has a successful Rival 5. We then of course have to have the physical attacker against Giovanni gets poison pointed and has an obligatory reset, but then Baloney is ready to move on to our 6th gym leader. Let's check out Sabrina. Pure Evil is back at Rival 5 making attempts, and honestly, Sabrina's fight for Baloney is kinda baloney. As a strong, fast, physical attacker, we completely overwhelm her team. I mean, we trip against Venomoth, leaving her at a sliver of health, but that's all it was. Maybe not even a trip. Kinda like a, oh, right, I'm awake. I'll just keep the footage rolling because on Pure Evil's side of the screen, we're about to make it through Rival 5. It definitely took a little bit of finagling, but we got through it in the end. Pure Evil's Sabrina battle is equally as much of a blowout as Baloney's was, so I'm not even gonna bother showing it. Instead, we can follow Baloney to our next destination, Cinnabar Island. After making sure to hit every unnecessary trainer on the way down, it's time to do a little bit of grinding. Actually intentional grinding this time, not like the trip south. Blaine's gym has some decent experience yield as well as a bunch of speed EVs. With both Pokemon, I chose a Brave Nature, increasing attack and reducing speed. I felt that we had enough natural speed that along with some EVs, we would have no problems outspeeding key opponents. I'm gonna be clearing out all of the trainers in the gym with both Pokemon leading up to our 7th gym leader, Blaine. Pure Evil is hot on Baloney's heels, now clearing out the trainers in Blaine's gym while Baloney faces the man himself. Speaking of intimidates, I have not mentioned Baloney's ability, Intimidate. It's a pretty nifty ability, but from a solo speedrun type of perspective, it actually ends up slowing us down. Remember, at the start of every single battle, we have to have the Intimidate animation and text box that appears. Over how many battles in this run? It does add up. I'm trying to get up a substitute to avoid a second Intimidate from Arcanine once he hits the field. Unfortunately, it's just not quite panning out for us, as we're also barely not doing enough damage to knock out Ponyta. I figure out my strategy with Tauros, trying to stall out Rapidash's Fire Blast PP right as Pure Evil is about to start the battle. Things get real dicey for Baloney, but we make it through this time. I think my live audio says it best. Yeah, we might have to... Yeah! Never mind! The critical! Oh yeah! Blaine's no problem. Blaine's no problem. Pure Evil's ability, Thick Fat, is giving her a huge advantage in this Blaine fight though. Thick Fat reduces ice and fire type damage by half. So yeah, that's just a built-in resistance to fire and ice. I kinda feel like singing a song about that. That one though would guaranteed copyright me. Pure Evil is able to make their way through the battle pretty quickly after that, making up some much needed ground. Meanwhile, Baloney is heading out to the Sevi Islands to clear the first part of that plotline. With a round 2 finish in mind, I feel it's much better to get this done now. And then it's another bout of training in Giovanni's gym for both Pokemon. What can I say, we're in the slow growth rate group. We need experience. Let's jump into the final battle to complete the gym challenge. Baloney is still in the lead, and his strategy is pretty much going to reflect both of theirs. Turn 1 against Rhyhorn, I set up a substitute to avoid Scary Face. The AI just doesn't understand decoys sometimes, so I can take it out with Icy Wind. I, of course, get poisoned by Nidoqueen, but wait a minute, Exceptional, you're behind a decoy. Yup, abilities like Poison Point, where your Pokemon is still making contact through attacking, do penetrate the decoy. Because it's not the decoy attacking, it's your Pokemon. Despite the poison, Baloney has no problem here. With Pure Evil also getting poisoned by Poison Point, but having a successful battle. And I once again don't even have to clip the footage as Baloney is ready to take on Rival 6. And with the power of decoys avoiding Pidgeot's shenanigans, and Gyarados' Intimidate, and Growlithe's Intimidate, and one turn of damage really, the rival remains no issue. Yes, that is going to be the case with both Pokemon, although Pureval is going to have a little bit of a closer battle. With both runners, I'm actually going to be attempting the leagues and then leaving to grind and then heading back in. I'm just going to skip us ahead to when we start seeing some real league clearing. Let's jump in to the Round 1 League. I first started seeing some success in the leagues with Pureval. I attribute a lot of this to the fact that we can set up with Curse. It may be one of the more challenging moves to use since it reduces your speed, but setup is setup. Through a fair amount of trial and error, I again invite you to check out the VOD, I determined that setting up against Cloyster was the way to get this one done. Making sure that I have a decoy up not only avoids one potential turn of damage from Slowbro, but it also avoids a potential turn of shenanigans from Jinx and from Lapras. Fortunately, in this battle, Lapras is the one that breaks our decoy, but Jinx only goes for Ice Punch, which our Thick Fat reduces the damage of. The AI only knows about your Pokemon's abilities after having attacked against it. For instance, failing to hit a Levitate user with a ground move. Pureval clears Lorelei as Baloney continues grinding. Again, with the power of Substitute and Curse, we're able to get a successful first attempt against Bruno. I would be a little bit worried against him because he does have a type advantage, but with the power of decoys, we should be okay. Machamp ends up breaking our decoy, and Onix 2 does a little bit of damage, but this is a pretty straightforward battle. Yep, Baloney's still grinding. Against Agatha, if you outspeed or lead Gengar, you can just drop down a decoy right away, and again avoid all of her shenanigans. I do just that, setting up a turn of Curse, and then start rocking through the battle. One thing I didn't mention is stopping by the Game Corner to purchase TM30 Shadow Ball for 4,500 coins. This is like the second move Miltank has been able to hit Ghost with all run. Decoy, Curse, and Shadow Ball, and that is all Agatha wrote. As Pureval comes into the Lance battle, it looks like Baloney is finally done training. Pureval has had a fairly dominant performance in the league so far, but Lance is going to be a complete stonewall. That's going to be good news for Baloney as he starts attempting Lorelei. While leveling up, Baloney learned Rest, and I decided to keep it on my moveset for as long as possible. I did grab TM44 from the SSN, but it's nice to have the option. With the added recovery of Rest, Baloney is able to make it through Lorelei on the first attempt, while Pureval is still struggling against Lance. Before starting the Bruno battle with Baloney, I decided to teach Water Pulse because it will be 4 times super effective against the Onyxes. The decoy gives us a free turn of damage, say against a critical cross chop, but we don't even end up needing it. Tauros just outspeeds and smashes all the way through Bruno. I have not discussed my hidden power typing with either runner. Because Baloney's learn set is so limited, I felt that HP Ghost was the best option, teaching it before Agatha. But Tauros' Smash is strong. We can once again get through Agatha on the first attempt, bringing both of our competitors to the Lance battle, where we're gonna continue resetting. Both runners are now struggling against Lance, racking up resets. I've started experimenting with Rest on Pureval as well, and finally, we're gonna see a successful Lance battle. I end up playing it super safe at the end of the battle, and can you blame me? 1 extra rest to avoid even more potential resets? Yeah, I'm gonna go for that. With a smile in my heart, I watch that Dragonaire's health bar drop to 0, and yes, Pureval can move on to the champion. While Baloney is figuring out the Lance battle, let's check out Pureval's first champion attempt. I of course lead off with a Substitute and a Curse, because that's just the Pureval way. Return is not quite doing enough to one-shot Pidgeot, but it's not Pidgeot that I'm worried about right now. Setting up with Curse tanks your speed, and there are a lot of special attackers on this team. That and my only move against Rhydon is Resisted Return. It's not a bad first attempt, but Gyarados finishes us off with 2 uses of Hydro Pump. I figured out that setting up an additional Curse against the Pidgeot was the way through. Well, that and just a touch of luck. It's actually really surprising to me in Pureval's fight that Arcanine at an equivalent level to us uses Stab Flamethrower and our decoy takes it. That Thick Fat is doing work. Venusaur takes in Sunlight as we hit one final stab return for the victory. Once again though, I can just keep the footage rolling because Baloney is about to find success against Lance. I'm again taking a super conservative last couple of turns against Dragonair, but this is finally a successful battle. Meanwhile, Pure Evil clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 51 seconds at level 61 with 20 resets. And to keep the run synced, there's a jump cut here, so sorry about that. But hey, Lance is down for Tauros. Let's check out his champion battle. It's a pretty similar case to what Pure Evil just went through, but we are at a higher level. Our first attempt is cut short by Arcanine's flamethrower, but I think I learned everything that I needed to know here. The key to the battle was making sure to keep a decoy up and avoiding the second Intimidate from Arcanine, as well as I've taught Earthquake over HP Ghost. Stab resisted return, after all, is still doing more damage to Rhydon than HP Ghost was. Earthquake gave me a super effective option against him and then against Arcanine as well. It gets real dicey at the end of the battle, but we are finally successful. As you can see though, Miltank is grabbing the Ruby and already well on their way to completing the second part of the Sevii Island plotline. Tauros clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 46 seconds at level 66 with 19 resets. This took 5 hours and 4 minutes of game time. There isn't much excitement to discuss between the leagues aside from the fact that I'm picking up leftovers with both of our runners. The combination of leftovers and substitute on a solo runner is so powerful. As Baloney is wrapping up the second part of the Sevii Island plotline, Pure Evil is having to fly back to Celadon in order to buy another copy of Shadow Ball. I promise you I did not edit it this way, this is just how the runs lined up. Both of them, after completing the league preparations, are walking up to Lorelei almost in sync, an hour and 42 minutes in. Let's jump in to round 2. Baloney starts strong, taking out her lead Dugong in a single critical shot. Pure Evil is going to try and rely on knowledge from the first league and set up against Cloyster, but this Cloyster is quite a bit more threatening. Ugh, what a weird thing to say, but with Rain Dance and Stab Surf, it can deal some decent damage. Baloney continues hacking through as Pure Evil stalls out against Cloyster and takes another reset. Baloney then clears Lorelei as Pure Evil is coming back to that Cloyster problem. Pure Evil is going to set up a decoy and a couple of curses against Piloswine to try to guarantee the last part of the fight. Meanwhile, Baloney is setting up a decoy to avoid speed drops from Steelix. Super effective Earthquake should be able to deal with both of the Steelixes. Pure Evil is struggling a little bit against Piloswine, also hitting itself in confusion, but Rest saves the day. We're in a great position against Piloswine here. With our defense set up, we take less damage from his physical moves, and our Thick Fat blocks his ice moves. Baloney takes a menacing stab super effective cross chop from Machamp but hangs on in red bar. Baloney drops Machamp as Pure Evil drops Lapras, finishing her first league member. The recovery from leftovers is definitely keeping Baloney in this fight, using some super effective Earthquakes against the final Steelix. We get knocked down into red bar once again with a defense drop, but our Earthquake finishes the battle. Whew, right as Pure Evil is coming into the Bruno battle. It's the same type of strategy, using Substitute and Curse, trying to keep my speed as high as possible. At 116, it's only the Hitmonlee that outspeeds us, so I go for it. Baloney needs a new move that's gonna hit Ghost, so I replace Rest with HP Ghost. Given all of the recovery that Leftovers affords us, I felt that getting rid of Rest was the right choice. Pure Evil starts her onslaught against Bruno as Baloney kicks off Agatha's battle. Baloney ends up poisoned and intimidated, which is bad news bears. That's going to be a reset for him as Pure Evil continues working through Bruno, again being very conservative against Steelix. After a lot of turns against the Steelix, Pure Evil defeats Bruno. All the while, Baloney is making sure to keep the decoy up, avoiding the Intimidate from Arbok. This puts us in a much better position for the rest of Agatha's battle, taking her out. And pause. Holy moly, let me take a second to breathe while both Pokemon are out of battle for 10 seconds. Baloney is now facing Lance while Pure Evil sets up for Agatha. I did once again teach Shadow Ball for this battle. Lance is looking like he's going to be a problem for Baloney. Remember, we get intimidated by Gyarados right off the bat, starting every battle at -1 attack stage. Tauros has no answer for this but to grin and bear it. But then against Aerodactyl, fortune shines from above. Not only does Aerodactyl miss with Hyper Beam, preserving our decoy, but we also get a critical hit. That allows our decoy to block Dragonite's first Outrage, saving the battle. If we didn't have that decoy, that would have been a reset. Pure Evil finishes Agatha with no problem at all, while Baloney seems poised with some incredible luck to take out round 2 Lance. Which he does, oh man. It's time for Pure Evil to take on round 2 Lance, but Pure Evil has a pretty big advantage. His Gyarados lives to paralyze you with Thunder Wave, and if you have a decoy up, he will just sit there ineffectively using Thunder Wave against your decoy, so you can just set up with impunity. It's not 100%, but it's pretty darn likely. The biggest question becomes how many curses to set up, because at a certain point you are taking a lot more damage because you're being outsped. +2 does not seem to be the answer, while Baloney starts struggling against the champion. We're taking a lot of damage, and as such, I'm not able to avoid those intimidates using decoys. We make it to his second last Pokemon, Arcanine, who I'm trying to stall out overheats using Substitute, but it's just not quite working. Baloney is going to be tinkering away with moveset choices, while Pure Evil has dialed in Lance. It seems that +4 is the ticket. As long as we one-shot everything on the way through, we seem to do okay. Or almost one-shot. Come on, Aerodactyl, get out of here. Both Pokemon are now slogging it out against the champion, getting even more resets and trying to figure out their own individual way through. As it stands, Baloney is definitely closer, but still struggling. That is, until I use the last of my rare candies, leveling us up to 80 over 3 more damage rounding thresholds. I want to guard my speed against the Heracross because Baloney is going to be relying on sheer might. Still, having Earthquake on our set is definitely useful, having a super effective answer against T-Tar. I've also once again deleted Hidden Power Ghost in favor of Rest. It's definitely given me a lot more flexibility in this battle because things just keep going wrong. In this attempt though, the stars finally align and Baloney makes it through Arcanine at nearly full health. Venusaur is last, and although it can be threatening, I feel that Baloney's got this. 3 uses of Stab return later, and we are poisoned, a little bit beat up, but we are victorious. But even better news is that I've been so focused on Baloney's side of the screen that I haven't even mentioned Pure Evil. Playing around with just how much cursing is appropriate, Pure Evil has set themselves up for their victory. The trick was just to go all the way to +6, to heck with speed. Baloney clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 34 seconds at level 80 with 25 resets. This took 6 hours and 18 minutes of game time, right as Pure Evil knocks out Venusaur. I streamed these runs back to back, so when I smashed them together while editing, the fact that they were this close blew my mind. Well done to both Pokemon. Pure Evil clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 53 seconds at level 78 with 29 resets. This took 6 hours and 19 minutes of game time. We'll check out Tauros' second run first. As I mentioned in the first run, I will not be using Icy Wind again this time, instead going for Body Slam. One of the main reasons that I decided to start using egg moves was to level the playing field. Some Pokemon do not get egg moves at all, and I do understand why. For example, Legendaries. Legendaries should not need assistance. For a Pokemon like Tauros though, with a base stat total of 490, still being in the slow growth rate group, and to be honest, with a learn set that I feel does not synergize at all with our stat distribution, I feel no qualms with giving Tauros a little help. I also feel that the inclusion of a tutor move is a very fine line to tiptoe. I went with Body Slam this time because although it's going to give us a more difficult time with Brock, it should make us faster through the forest and after the Brock battle. It also feels much more thematically fitting with Tauros as opposed to Icy Wind. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. As I've been yammering on, as you've seen in the footage, I've cleared every trainer on the way to Brock this time. The Brock battle may be more difficult with Body Slam, but that 30% chance to paralyze can definitely make a difference. The problem with Body Slam is that Brock's rock-hard Pokemon do resist it. Fortunately for Tauros, our Smashy Smash is strong. Unfortunately for Tauros, Geodude gets 2 critical hits in this first attempt, so we're a little bit beat up already when we make it to Onix. 3 Tail Whips is the key to make Onix a 3-shot, and I found that to be the most consistent way through. Then all we need is for luck to tilt in our favor, like, 55-45 kind of thing. Those 2 criticals from Geodude were very much not that, so that's reset number 1. On the next attempt, I get confused by a couple of misses from Onix, thinking that I had missed a Tail Whip for some reason. So I actually end up going for 4 Tail Whips, which is completely useless by the way, but fortunately that luck did tilt that little bit back in our favor this time. Onix gets paralyzed and ends up missing enough times that Tauros is through his first hurdle. I then follow the exact same route with Body Slam doing work. The ability to one-shot everything is definitely helping Tauros make up some lost time. In Mount Moon, I'm of course grabbing the Dome Fossil. And we steamroll Rival 2 with a critical hit against Bulbasaur. Tauros is showing up to compete today, let me tell ya. And we get another critical hit one-shot against Misty Starmie. Oh yeah. And I can't help but feel a little disappointed as I do not critical against Rival 3's Ivysaur, but it's still a one-shot. Our Bull Rush of the early game just continues hammering on as Body Slam also allows us a clean one-shot against Lieutenant Surge's Raichu. Oh, there goes the Cherry Berry. Of course I got static on the last turn. We just cut through a bunch of major battles in like 30 seconds, but honestly, this is what the entire early game after Brock has looked like for Tauros. One major change that I'm doing is teaching TM3 Water Pulse that we got from Misty right now. Icy Wind did well enough against the Rock and Ground types last run, but Water Pulse is going to be 4 times super effective against most of them. Tauros is just one-shotting everything. I of course could not skip by picking up the absolute beauty of a TM, number 27, Return. You may notice on the bottom of the screen that because Body Slam was out of power points, I switched Horn Attack into the number 1 slot. While menuing, this will allow me to just spam A while I'm teaching Return and not worry about accidentally erasing the wrong move. Return is about to become my primary attack anyway, so it might as well be in the number 1 spot. And we just keep one-shotting until I get to Giovanni, who I found out from my stream chat is pronounced Giovanni, but because he's the ground type leader, you know, Geo kind of still fits for me. 4 times super effective Water Pulse of course clears out the Onix and Rhyhorn, and the fairly beefy Kangaskhan in the back actually takes 3 whole hits to take down while he tickles us with his tail a couple of times. The most impactful change that I made in this section of the game was making sure to grab the Sylph Scope. It's nice to not feel like such an egghead this time. I challenge Erica next, and ooh, more Pokemon we can't one-shot. Wait, I'm not supposed to be getting excited about that, am I? Our Cherry Berry saves us from Victory Bell Stun Spore, we hack through the battle until Vileplume, who misses Stun Spore as our Body Slam paralyzes, and yeah, this fight is just another slaughter. My goodness, Tauros is fun to play. Then against Rival 4, oh, it breaks my heart. Because of the double Intimidate from Growlithe and Gyarados for the first time this run, we don't one-shot the Rival's ace. But, I mean, it's still a handy 2-shot. Silphco is going to be the next destination where I'm going to be doing a little bit of item collection. One big flaw in that first run was that I did not optimize my EVs at all. I didn't use any vitamins, I didn't do anything. And because I was pretty confident that we wouldn't need anything from the game corner for round 1 anyway, so I'm only grabbing the proteins, the rare candy, and the convenient items along the path to those ones. I then go to the department store and buy 1 less protein than I'm gonna need. The reason for this is that I'm gonna be getting 1 more from the Safari Zone down in Fuchsia. And you bet your butts it's time to teach Substitute. Have I mentioned that Substrat's best strats? Some potential hairiness emerges against Weezing as I missed the 2-shot against him. I have to be honest, this was not a battle that I actually tested, so I add in a Water Pulse for some chip damage, which fortunately also confuses Weezing. Depending on what he did, I'm pretty sure we could have taken 1 more turn from Weezing, but Koga using a full heal instead guarantees the victory. It's then time for Tauros to do some training, but this time I'm doing much more targeted training. Vitamins will only increase the EVs of your stat up to 100 out of a potential total of 255. Getting more attack EVs is up to us, and that's where I'm targeting my training. Aw, check it out, this is super cute. Hitmonchan manages to burn Tauros with Fire Punch. There you go, little guy, you did something today. Oh, I feel so bad for Hitmonchan in this generation. Now that I'm level 40, it's time to take on Rival 5, where our decoy blocks all of that shenanigans from Intimidate. But even without the attack reductions, our natural strength, now that Venusaur has fully evolved, is no longer enough for a one-shot. Dommage, c'est triste. A well-placed Pecha Berry then saves me from Poison Point against Giovanni, and Sabrina will be the next to fall. We may be starting to find things that we can't one-shot, but for the most part, Tauros is still just ripping through this game. The next destination is Cinnabar Island, and I'm gonna be doing a little bit more training along the way. These fishermen on the way down, with the exception of the guy with like 6 Magikarps, are chock full of attack EVs. This first fisherman on the route has 3 Seekings and 1 Goldeen. That's 7 attack EVs just from this guy. There are also the odd optional trainer that I'm having to battle along the way because I am gathering all of the rare candies. The route as a whole pretty much stayed the same, I'm just doing it a little bit smarter this time. Let's be honest, a lot smarter. After clearing out the trainers in Blaine's gym, the battle itself goes a little bit differently than last time. Growlithe and Ponyta are both one-shots, but now that Rapidash is coming out, it's time to do a little bit of stalling again. Using a combination of Substitute and Rest, I stall out Rapidash's 5 Fire Blasts, then attempting to get myself into as good a position as possible for the Ace Arcanine. I want to be at as high a health as possible behind a decoy to avoid that last Intimidate. Stab Return does just over half as Arcanine's Fire Blast burns away our decoy. It did its job though, and we're faster, finishing the battle on the next turn. That 7 badges and having Water Pulse on our set is definitely going to help us against Giovanni as well. The path to Giovanni remains exactly the same, clearing out every trainer in his gym. I kick off with a Substitute of course, and then I stick with Water Pulse to avoid Poison Point. Yeah, there's no problems here. The last challenge for Tauros to face before jumping into the leagues is Rival 6, who, you know the scoop by now, decoys save us from all the Intimidates, and oh man, now we're not even knocking Venusaur into Red Bar anymore? Ugh. You know you're playing with a strong Pokemon when that's the thing you're complaining about. On the first pass through Victory Road this time though, I'm definitely clearing most of the trainers. The goal this time is to get to level 58, one level higher than we were attempting the leagues at in the first run. Tauros enters the league doors ready to compete at 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 37 seconds. Before jumping into these leagues, let's jump back and check out what changed in Miltank's second playthrough. Miltank's second playthrough as well is going to be incredibly similar to the first one, still going with Curse as my egg move choice. The thing with Miltank is that we got so incredibly lucky against Brock last time. So this time, before even starting my grinding against the trainers, because our best attacking move is Tackle, I did a little bit of wild grinding first. I'm in the grass just west of Viridian City, right before the Rival 1.5 or later in the game Rival 6 battles. In this grass you can find Wild Mankey who provide attack EVs, and if I'm grinding I might as well make it worth my while. I've also switched Miltank's nature to Adamant instead of Brave. This decreases our special attack instead of our speed while still increasing attack. Because Curse lowers our speed, I wanted to keep as much of it around as possible, and because Curse increases our attack, and our move pool is quite deep, I didn't really see a whole lot of reason to go with special attacks. My training concludes against Bugcatcher Liam in Brock's gym, whom I use 6 curses against because I'll only need 4 for Brock. At the end of the battle, we level up to 13, learning Stomp, and yeah, Stomp is way better than Tackle. I set up to +6 against Geodude, and then once I go on the offense, Stomp gets a critical, knocking him out in a single shot. Our speed is low and our defense is high, so the worst thing that Onix can do to us is bind. 3 stomps with a critical hit on the last turn, because why not I guess, finishes the battle. With both runners, we're definitely making it through Brock a little bit slower. But don't worry, there's a much better plan in place this time. At the end of Mount Moon, I'm making sure to grab the Dome Fossil once again, oh yeah, and then on the other side, I'm gonna be teaching Mega Punch instead of Mega Kick. Then against Rival 2, you can see that Miltank is gonna be having a slightly worse time than Tauros. While Tauros just one-shot everything, we're using a weaker attack with a lower attack stat. We're still not really getting held up by anything, but it is going slower. My reasoning for teaching Mega Punch is that I wanted the additional power points for the next route. Last time I had to run back and heal halfway through the route, and I would prefer not to do that again. Against Misty's Starmie, with 55 speed, we outspeed her by 2 points, so I go for Stomp, hoping for a flinch. We don't get the flinch, and it's not even doing half damage. Not to worry though, Miltank is here for business too, tossing in a Mega Punch for the critical. Okay, well I guess where Tauros was one-shotting everything, Miltank's making sure that she's at least two-shotting everything, right? Unfortunately, needing to two-shot everything exposes us to a sleep powder against Rival 3's Ivysaur. Miltank snoozes away, finally waking up on the last turn, hitting a Stomp, not getting the one-shot, and we fall for the first reset. And a second as we miss turn 1 against Pidgeotto, take 2 sand attacks, and I'm not dealing with that. In the third attempt though, we finally wake up in time and finish Ivysaur. Yeah, I'd say that his Ivy left me a little sore. The trouble then continues against Lieutenant Surge because look at this lunacy. He double teams turn 1 and our first Stomp ends up missing. Okay, fair enough. He then double teams a few more times, paralyzes us twice because of the cherry berry. Meanwhile, I miss 9 stomps in a row. There are some resets in this game that there isn't a thing you can do about. On the next attempt, Raichu opens with double team again, but this time Miltank stomps that stupid mouse in his face. Excuse me. Miltank takes a well-deserved third badge. Let's move on to the mid-game. Similar to Tauros, I made sure to teach Water Pulse before going into Rock Tunnel. In the last run, I relied on Brick Break for rock coverage, but this time Water Pulse is going to allow Miltank to get some one-shots. Heck yeah! From there, once again, the route does not differ very much, completing the mid-game chores, heading into the Rocket Hideout next. Oh, and of course grabbing PP ups along the way. You gotta keep your PP strong. After that, I'm absolutely going to be grabbing the coin case again because Shadow Ball is a guaranteed thing, whereas TM10 is questionable. And it's going to be Erica next. Against Victory Bell and Tangela, it's the exact same outcome as Tauros, but Vileplume goes a little differently. We end up paralyzed, and we just miss the 2-shot, really revealing the disadvantage of having that lower attack stat. As a result of missing the knockout by I don't know, a hit point it looked like, we end up getting another reset. I miss one-shotting things. As long as Vileplume doesn't use a Giga Drain killing our 2-shot, we're fine, so on the next battle we get the victory. Jumping ahead to the Rival 4 battle, I almost have a heart attack because this run was feeling a little stressful, as you can imagine. At this stage in the battle, our accuracy is -3, by the way, as Ivysaur puts us to sleep and we snooze away, taking a bunch of damage, and oh my gosh, I wake up and win the battle. I can't take this. Yeah, that's the successful attempt, by the way. There was one where I didn't wake up. So, as you can imagine, while running this, my nerves were getting a little raw by this point. Fortunately, I had the foresight to be saving frequently enough because this happens. I'm thinking ahead, this route is going to be the same as Tauros, collecting the proteins. Oh right, the Machoke trainer. I missed the one-shot, which Tauros did not, taking a stab, super effective, critical revenge. That's going to be reset number 6. And no, the footage isn't paused right now. I paused the timer and just sat there hanging my head. This game can really get to you sometimes. After a few minutes of deep breathing and a cookie, I finished off Sylph and we're in the department store now. Miltank's vitamin plan is going to be identical to Tauros's. Optimizing for attack with proteins and then tossing anything extra into speed. Because there's no substitute for you, baby. I don't know, is that a song? That sounds like a song, probably. I'm getting substitute. And with our evil plan moveset coming together, we can absolutely destroy Koga. Decoy to avoid shenanigans, curse to set ourselves up, and then it's a win. Weezing got a critical. Ugh, you gotta love decoys. Now it's Miltank's turn to train, but good news is that Miltank does not quite need as much as Tauros did. That's gonna be when we get to Victory Road though. Everything until that point is exactly the same as Tauros, starting with the Fighting Dojo. Rival 5 is the next target, and I'm just gonna take another moment to just really appreciate the decoy. I set up a decoy against Pidgeot and then set up 2 curses while he breaks that decoy. Then I set up a new decoy as our Citrus Berry activates, almost giving us a second decoy for free. And then I just have to sit here and appreciate this adorable little plushie on the field absolutely ripping through the rivals team. There's just something so satisfying about it. Sabrina is next on the chopping block, and again, yeah, no problems here. And it's the same route that we did with Tauros in the second playthrough, leading towards Blaine. Curse, Substitute, and Thick Fat pretty much trivialized that battle. And here we are, ready to take on Giovanni. Once again, following the exact same strategy of clearing the full gym. I realize I am skipping a lot here, but really, the play is almost identical to the first runs, and if you really want to see that, I invite you to check out the VOD. Substitute saves us from Scary Face, we curse, and then Water Pulse and return win the battle. Poisoned, obviously, because me. I also do not feel the need to show the decimation of Rival 6, it's the same strategy, we win. Miltank then clears out the trainers that she needs to reach once again level 58 before entering the league. Popped, locked, and ready to rock, Miltank enters the league doors at 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 58 seconds, only about a minute and 20 seconds behind Tauros. So with that, let's jump into the leagues where everything is going to be decided. Let's check out Round 1. We'll continue following Miltank for the time being, where honestly, most of the strategies that I employ in this league are identical to the first run. This is a big reason why I wanted to start using Substitute and Hidden Power in the first runs again, because it really dials in my ability to optimize. Especially when I'm only ever doing 2 playthroughs. 2 returns handle Dugong, and it's time to set up, just like last time, against Cloyster. Unfortunately, if we take a little bit too much damage in the early section, then Slowbro sees a one-shot with Surf and will go for that, breaking our decoy. This exposes us to a turn of damage from Lapras, which, critical or not, we cannot take. If instead our health is even marginally higher than it was last attempt, Slowbro will go for Amnesia, we maintain our decoy, and the battle is ours. I definitely needed that decoy to be there for Lapras. Jinx is the reason why I didn't use any additional curses here. She has 110 speed compared to our 115, so if she had gone first, we might have been in a bit more trouble. Bruno is next, and he is why Water Pulse has remained on our set this long. I do my usual setup at the start of the battle, and then 4 times super effective Water Pulse, even with our adamant nature, takes out Onix in a single shot. I only set up a single curse because it gives us enough damage while maintaining enough speed to still go first against every single one of his Pokemon. Machamp is the only one we can't one-shot, but hey, worst case, he breaks our decoy, which he doesn't even do in this battle. Easy Bruno. For Agatha, because I did find a copy of TM10 this time, I went with HP Ghost. Going for HP Ghost means that I did not have to invest in Shadow Ball this time, instead investing all of that money into vitamins to maximize our EVs. Well, attempt to optimize anyway, definitely not maximize. Decoy, curse, win, you know the score by now. Agatha is no problem at all. Well, HP Ghost was fun and all, but before jumping into the Lance battle, I replace it with Rest. I'm also holding a Chesto Berry for a little bit of that Resto-Chesto goodness. There's no point in setting up a decoy against Gyarados right now, so I go right on the offense, taking him out with 2 uses of return. Aerodactyl is next, and because Aerodactyl only knows physical moves, this is where I'm gonna set up. I set up to +4, making sure to rest and leave Aerodactyl with as much health as possible and a decoy once again. Aerodactyl even got the 10% chance for an Omni boost from Ancient Power, and we still had no problem setting up here. The rest of Lance's team is a series of easy one-shots. That leaves us with one final challenge in round 1, the champion. In the interest of maintaining speed, I am going to be taking a reset here that may not have been necessary. I got a little bit greedy against Pidgeot, only needing +1 to take it out, but I decided to go for +2. This results in us taking a Sand Attack, and you know what? That's just not going to be worth it. I'm resetting. In the next attempt, I set up my decoy, blocking a Sand Attack, setting up my +1, and then defeating Pidgeot, who's followed by Alakazam. Alakazam outspeeds us, going for Psychic and breaking our decoy, fair enough, but we one-shot him as well. Rhydon is out next, and as the only other physical attacker on the roster, I'm gonna be using him to finish my setup. I then set up one final curse, going for Earthquake, which replaced Rest. Super effective EQ for Rhydon, followed by Stab Return for Gyarados, Stab Return for Arcanine, and one final +2 Stab Return takes out Venusaur in a single shot. You know, it just feels so good to end that one on a one-shot, especially after the trouble that some of those 2-shots gave us earlier in the run. We make our way to the Hall of Fame, and Miltank clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 1 second at level 65 with 8 resets. This took 4 hours and 22 minutes of game time. Before we proceed into round 2, let's jump back and see how Tauros handles round 1. Lorelei definitely feels like the gatekeeper battle for both of these runners today. Tauros does not have the ability to set up, but will be doing a similar type of strategy against Lorelei. I want to get my decoy up against Cloyster, but as was the case with Miltank, I once again take a little bit too much damage leading towards Slowbro. Slowbro sees the knockout, going for Surf, taking out our decoy, and that sets us up for failure. Lapras comes out and ends the battle. We need the decoy for her. And we see those results in the next battle. We have enough health this time that Slowbro goes for Amnesia, and we win. Because we're not setting up with Curse with Tauros, I have no worries in my speed. We almost already outspeed Aerodactyl, who's the fastest one in this league. Round 1 Bruno is once again going to be absolutely no issue. I set up a decoy turn 1 to guard us from a speed drop, but he goes for Earthquake, which our decoy still survives. Good enough. 4x super effective Water Pulse takes out Onix, and then return one-shots both Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. Who needs setup? Machamp survives, breaking our decoy with Stab super effective Cross Chop, but like, who cares? We take him out on the next turn, and then one final 4x super effective Water Pulse deals with Onix. Another easy Bruno. Before jumping into the Agatha fight, I've of course taught TM10 Hidden Power, once again going for HP Ghost. I didn't have great berry options, so I decided to go with a Persum because, I don't know, need something I guess. But once that decoy's on the field, I don't really have any worries. We then start going smashy smash through Agatha's team. The only consideration that I should point out in this battle is to make sure that a decoy is up before Arbok hits the field. If you end up getting intimidated by Arbok, you will not one-shot her Ace Gengar, which can definitely lead to some problems. That's it for round 1 Agatha though. Agatha's battle leveled us up to 60, then using 5 rare candies before engaging Lance. I definitely needed those extra 2 damage rounding thresholds in this one. I have a Citrus Berry equipped for a little bit of additional buffer because as we know, we are dealing with this entire fight at -1 attack. I'm employing pretty much the same strategy as Miltank, except for this time I can exploit Aerodactyl in a different way. Because we're faster than it, Aerodactyl is going to want to continue to use Scary Face. Well, that's fine. Use all the scary faces you want against my decoy. I could have used this opportunity to recover with Rest, but I just decided to go for it, carving through Aerodactyl, his Ace Dragonite, and another Dragonair before I finally have to pump the brakes a little. We're in red bar right now, and based on the last Dragonair, I'm gonna need 2 shots to take this one out. I switched to Rest, recovering all of my hit points, and that's gotta be frustrating, eh, Lance? And there goes the battle. Let's check out how Tauros handles the champ. Are you feeling like you're seeing double yet as we come into the champion battle once again, rocking Return, Earthquake, Substitute, and Rest instead of Curse? I set up a decoy to block shenanigans and then 2 uses of Return after a heal and including a lovely critical hit deals with Bird Brains. We outspeed and take out Alakazam, no problem. I then start taking out Rhydon with super effective Earthquakes, but this is when I make a critical error. I should have re-established a decoy against the Rhydon because when Gyarados comes out, we end up intimidated, and as such, we are not able to 2-shot him, resulting in a reset. In the next attempt, I play it smarter against Rhydon, making sure to have that decoy on the field. We take out Gyarados in 2 shots while our decoy blocks his Dragon Rage, Arcanine in 2 shots while our decoy blocks his Flamethrower, and when Venusaur hits the field, we almost knock him to red bar while he soaks in sunlight, his Citrus Berry heals him, but yeah, you got no chance, buddy. Stab Return makes Venusaur go away. Alright, well that was a very successful round 1 league for both competitors. Their times right now are incredibly close. Tauros clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 20 seconds at level 66 with 3 resets. This took 4 hours and 23 seconds of gameplay and puts Tauros only 1 minute and 39 seconds ahead of Miltank right now. The only thing to discuss between the leagues for both runners is that Miltank is going to be returning to Celadon City to pick up Shadow Ball. I was not able to find a second copy of TM10, so this is our ticket through Agatha. Just like last time, both Pokemon will be rocking the leftovers, so let's return to Tauros for the round 2 leagues. Tauros has an amazing start to the league against Lorelei, and by amazing I mean dismal. I should have just reset when Dugong led off with a stabbed critical Ice Beam, but I decided to play it through anyway. I guess you could say I was feeling a little bullheaded now that I had the recovery of leftovers on my side. Cloyster ends up confusing us, and although I get very lucky hitting through confusion, it ends up finally getting the better of us against Piloswine. If I don't take a massive amount of damage from Dugong at the very start of the battle, as you can imagine, things go a bit better. There isn't a whole heck of a lot else to discuss with Lorelei here because pretty much Tauros smash. We don't even need the decoy for Lapras this time, no worries. Against Bruno, as you can imagine, I set up a decoy to avoid any speed drops, and Tauros smash. His Steelixes are definitely more threatening than the Onyxes of round 1, but super effective Earthquake deals with them easily enough, especially if we crit. We see the exact same battle as against round 1 Bruno, with Tauros absolutely carving through his fighting types, missing the one-shot against Machamp, our decoy breaks, we take him out, yeah. The difference being his second Steelix. He's just a little bit meatier, and after hitting a stab critical Earthquake, he deals some pretty decent damage, but I'm not worried here. That's a third easy Bruno. As fortune would have it, I did have a second copy of HP Ghost, but I also had enough money in reserve if I needed to buy Irontail. Generally speaking, I only find one copy of TM10 throughout a run, but hey, the RNG giveth and the RNG taketh away. With leftovers on our side, I had no problem deleting Rest in favor of HP Ghost for this battle. Once again, the primary thing to watch out for is just making sure that Arbok does not get off that Intimidate against you. At 202 speed, we do not need to worry about going second, so I had all of the flexibility that I needed here, as long as she didn't get too psychic happy. At the end of the battle, we're level 71, which works perfectly into my plan. That plan being using the last of my rare candies to level all the way up to 80. 1, 2, 3, 4 damage rounding thresholds. I set up a decoy just for that little bit of safety and just start smashing through the battle once again. I wonder what the number of times I've said smash in this video is so far. If you're feeling diligent and bored, let me know in the comments. Things are proceeding to plan when unfortunately his Ace Dragonite hits the field, hitting a critical stab outrage, which is more than we could take. We miss the 2-shot and Dragonite takes us out. Not once, but twice with a critical outrage. If Dragonite does not get the 6.25% chance to critical, we see a successful battle. What can I say? I can only plan around so many circumstances. This leaves one final challenge for Tauros to overcome, the Round 2 champion. HP Ghost is absolutely useless for us in this battle, so I replace it with TM44 Rest, which I got back on the SSN. The fact that Tauros learned Rest naturally was so nice. I set up a decoy against Heracross to avoid any shenanigans, then doing a little bit of chip damage with Earthquake before getting the knockout with Stab Return. We then outspeed and take out Alakazam in a single shot, no worries. And our decoy soaks a shot from Tyranitar as we take him out with 2 uses of super effective Earthquake. There wasn't any way, aside from getting a crit on T-Tar, that I could avoid this Intimidate from Gyarados, so I just take it. Despite the attack drop, we are still able to get a 2-shot against him, with that Sandstorm damage helping out a little bit. Unfortunately, Gyarados did get off one final attack, exposing us to Arcanine's Intimidate. This is where I'm going to be stalling out Arcanine's Overheat. Overheat is an incredibly powerful fire move, but it comes with the drawback that after using it, it reduces your special attack by 2 stages. Since excessive damage against the decoy does not roll back to your Pokemon, I'm able to stall out Arcanine while he keeps using Overheat and trashing his special attack. I use Rest to recover as needed, trying my darndest to have a decoy on the field for Venusaur. Credit where credit is due, Venusaur's Stab Solar Beam would mess us up if we took one. Our decoy soaks up that Solar Beam as we take out Venusaur with 3 uses of Stab Return. The champion has fallen. And on the first attempt, no less. Well done, Tauros. That was a first attempt champion and overall a pretty snappy league. Tauros clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 54 seconds at level 81 with 6 resets. This took 5 hours and 23 minutes of game time. Alright, I'll keep Tauros' time posted on the screen. Let's see how Miltank does. The strategy once again reflects what we did in the first run. We come into the battle at level 69, nice, and start carving our way through her team. It's not possible to set up against Cloyster anymore because Cloyster got some better moves. We end up taking a ton of additional damage against Cloyster and then also against Piloswine. Because we're so beat up, Jinx then goes for Psychic, breaking the decoy, which exposes us to Lapras. Curse is such an interesting move to set up with because it's always a question of should I outspeed or should I one-shot? As it turns out, as long as I have a decoy on the field, that choice doesn't matter. In the second attempt, I have my decoy up still for Lapras and we see the successful battle. Bruno is not really going to be any different than every Bruno battle we've seen up to this point. I set up a decoy and I set up a single curse, making sure that we still outspeed his entire team. Unfortunately, Machop ends up tagging us with a Rock Tomb, but that's a lot better of an outcome than if it had been like a cross-chop critical or something. So when Hitmonlee hits the field, we are no longer faster, but that about concludes the shakeup of Bruno. +1 super effective Earthquakes seal the deal against Steelix number 2. Agatha is next. Against Agatha, we can in fact see that there is a flaw with the substitute strategy. If the AI is feeling a bit more aggressive, say, and goes for Psychic, it breaks our decoy immediately. So in the first turn of battle, all we accomplished was losing 25% of our health. We can always rely on the AI to do something silly eventually though. As Gengar switches to Hypnosis, we get our decoy up, and yeah. Curse, we win. Before the battle as well, I made sure to teach TM30 Shadow Ball because otherwise we were not able to hit her Pokemon. Well, the ghosts anyway. It's a shame to lose Earthquake, but don't worry, I have a plan for that. With one curse set up, we can rock our way through her entire team, only being outsped by her ace Gengar, who breaks our decoy, but once again, +1 super effective Shadow Ball is more than Agatha can handle. Lance's battle is going to be an absolute cakewalk for Miltank. And it's once again because Substitute kinda breaks the AI a little bit. Gyarados is gonna sit there trying to paralyze our decoy over and over and over as I set up 4 curses, which is exactly the right number for this battle. It's bye-bye Gyarados, and then Kingdra sets up a turn of Dragon Dance while I one-shot, so being outsped here does not matter that much. His lesser Dragonite is on the field next, going for Stab Dragon Claw, breaking our decoy, but we take him out as well. Aerodactyl hits the field, kinda tickling us a little bit as +4 Shadow Ball takes it out in a single shot. And if I'd been feeling threatened at all there, I could have dropped one more decoy and just tanked out Aerodactyl for a little while longer to set myself up for the Dragonite. At 174 health though, I have no worries. His Outrage falls well short of a knockout, and our +4 Stab Return ends the battle. Done and done. With our time slowly creeping up on Tauros, let's check out that champion. We're definitely creeping up on Tauros' time. We have just over 2 minutes to get this done. I set up a decoy and then use, once again, a single turn of Curse against Heracross. Between the battles as well, I used the remaining of Miltank's rare candies, leveling us up to 80 as well. I also taught Brick Break over Shadow Ball. +1 Stab Return takes out Heracross, and unfortunately, we are 1 speed point shy of going first against Alakazam. He just sets up a Calm Mind though, so no worries there, he's out of there, and T-Tar comes out getting absolutely obliterated by +1 4x super effective Brick Break. Ah, that felt good. Tyranitar definitely gave me a couple of headaches before I figured out, oh, Brick Break, right. Because of that, I'm able to maintain my decoy and my speed all the way through the rest of the battle. We block the Intimidates and take out both Gyarados and Arcanine in a single shot each. His Ace Venusaur is last, we outspeed, hitting one final +1 Stab Return for the knockout. As I glance back at the timer, I'm pretty sure Miltank just won this. Come on, Professor Oak, quit your yammering, I wanna clock in. Miltank clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 27 seconds at level 80 with 9 resets. This took 5 hours and 21 minutes of game time, and we have our victor. Despite going with Body Slam as the egg move instead of Icy Wind, Tauros took an early lead and held it through most of the game. You can see a couple of fluctuations throughout, but they did pretty much follow the same route. The only difference was that Tauros was so able to one-shot everything. Tauros was able to defeat the gym challenge 3 minutes and 33 seconds faster than Miltank. By the end of the round 1 league though, Miltank had narrowed that gap to only 1 minute and 41 seconds. I feel like the biggest contributing factor to this is the fact that Miltank was able to set up using Curse. The ability to dance around with decoys and set your stats up definitely makes things a lot more consistent. So much more consistent that Miltank was actually able to pull ahead by 1 minute and 27 seconds at the end of round 2, 1 level lower with 3 more resets. Looking at the game time, there's only 2 minutes difference between the two, and honestly, after reviewing these second runs, I would say that these two Pokemon are incredibly evenly matched. There were a couple of things throughout the runs, but one example would be if Tauros hadn't been crit by round 2 Lance's Dragonite twice, he might have won. That's just the way it goes sometimes, and today, Miltank stands victorious. The most exciting part of this whole process for me is updating the tier list. Tauros was the first Pokemon that I played through to round 2 with on the channel. Just over a year ago, I clocked in with an optimized run of 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 56 seconds. I'd say that my play and decision-making ability has definitely improved, clocking in almost 40 minutes faster this time. Tauros and Miltank find themselves wedged in a cluster of Pokemon that I just can't seem to avoid. I mean, really though, a couple of these times are within a second of each other. I want to extend a special thank you to all of those generous enough to support the channel through YouTube memberships, Patreon, and Super Chat. Your generosity makes this content possible for everyone out there to enjoy. From the bottom of my shell, thank you so much. And thank you for making it to the end of the video. Watching all the way until the end and your engagement help my channel so much. If you feel like I've earned it, consider leaving a like and comment about the run, what you'd like to see in the future, or just to say hi. Good day! If you'd like to keep up with my future releases, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to never miss a video. I have big plans as always, so stay tuned for those. Until next time, take care everyone.